Good afternoon, everybody. This afternoon's evidence will be broadcast on the live link, but only after a 10-minute delay. Those with recording devices may use them to report what they hear in the hearing room, but only after 10 minutes have elapsed since the event that they're reporting. The devices may not be used for recording or photography. Mr. Barr, I don't understand we're going to have a private hearing this afternoon, are we?
No, sir.
No.
Mr. Boyling, can we turn now, please, to the RTS Summer Street Party of 1996, which in the event took place on the M41 motorway on the 13th of July 1996. We have recovered a number of reports attributed to you in the months running up to that event, reporting on developing arrangements for that event. Can you help us with how involved you were with RTS by this stage?
The main organising group was about 8 to 10 people. I wasn't part of that group, but I drove one of the sound system trucks.
And in terms of the intelligence you got from the planning, about the planning, where did you get that from if you are not a part of the core organising group?
Do you want me to name the main activist?
No, I'm asking you, how did you get the intelligence?
How did I get it, but not who I got it from?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because I got invited to be a driver, you get quite a lot of information anyway, but in fact what happened was that the person I would have been considered to be the main organiser sat me down with somebody else and went through the whole plan, and he borrowed my A to Z to do it, went through the relevant pages of the map and drew in where all the roadblocks were going to be, where the vehicles were going to come in from on my A to Z in some detail. And then I think I left that meeting and drove to the Special Branch office and repeated the whole briefing using the same map, so everything was on it, I think.
Could we have up tab C64 246450? This is a report dated the 9th of July, so 4 days before the event. And if we look at the text, please, particularly, thank you, starting first of all with the first paragraph.
Okay.
RTS wants widespread favourable publicity and therefore does not want a repetition of the violence and confrontation which followed a similar event in Islington last year. Does that accurately record the sentiments that you picked up?
I don't remember it specifically, but that seems very likely to be accurate.
And how did RTS take steps to avoid a repetition of the previous year's violence?
I'm not sure they necessarily took steps to avoid it, but I don't think it was something that they actively tried to provoke.
Did they decide upon a cut-off time to end the party?
That was quite usual to do that, so I don't remember if they did that for this specific event, and I wasn't on the organising group for this, so I possibly wouldn't have been party to that.
Were you there on the ground on the day?
Yes, I was. My vehicle got impounded by the police, and I spent some time trying to get it back out again.
Were you present at the end of events, at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Was there a cut-off time?
It's the same answer. I don't remember if there was a specific... Other events had one, so I think it's very likely.
Towards the end of the second paragraph of this document, it says, to this end, consideration is being given to laying on some kind of impromptu sound system in an undetermined open space to attract the crusties and ravers during the evening after the main street party starts to disperse. If the party just tails off, it is likely that the crowd will become restless and confrontational, especially towards the police. was that your view of the likely outcome in the event of a tailing off?
Yes. Well, I'm pointing out somebody else wrote this because there's words here that I wouldn't have used. But
So what wouldn't you have used?
well, I wouldn't have used the word crusties, for instance. I think that's not a good term.
What terms would you have used?
I don't mean it's derogatory. It's just not a term that I think I would have used. So somebody else has written that.
What
but
term
it's still,
would you have used?
I would have just taken that out.
On left ravers.
Yeah.
In the same vein, if the party is seen to have been sabotaged by the establishment, for example by the seizing of props, sound systems and so on, before the event gets underway, the anarchic element in the crowd will become angry and disorderly. Confrontation is likely. It appears, reading this, that you are reporting that on the one hand, RTS don't want trouble, and on the other, you are passing on advice to your managers as to how the police might avoid trouble. Is
Correct.
that fair?
Yes.
And so, on this occasion, both sides working in their own ways towards avoiding a repeat of the previous year.
Yes, our goal is to see that the event is policed effectively. If we can prompt it towards a policing plan that allows it to be to end as a peaceful event, then that's in everybody's interest, I think.
Are you the treasurer by this stage?
Not at this stage.
Did you have any involvement in hiring, putting the lorry aside, hiring any of the equipment?
For this one, just the lorry that I was driving.
The jackhammer?
No involvement in that at all.
Do you know whether RTS and the police and the uniformed police liaised
They didn't.
before this event?
They not to my knowledge, but they usually would avoid any sort of pre-meetings or liaison with police. And obviously wouldn't even disclose to police the location, obviously.
Especially the location.
Yeah.
Could we have, take that document down now?
Pause a moment, please. You anticipate in the back what I'm going to say. It is necessary that the evidence is listened to in silence. Please be silent, otherwise I may eventually have to take steps to ensure that those who are making a noise are not in the public gallery, and I really do not want to do that. Please be quiet. Thank you.
Tab C65 246485. This is a report from the 17th of July, 4 days after the event, about the event itself. It says that about 5,000 people were there. There were minor incidents of disorder. The mood was jubilant and it had been widely advertised. Could we look at paragraph 1, please? Give you a moment to read that.
Yeah.
There's a reference there to essential or stolen equipment. Can I take it from that you are reporting that not all of the material used at that protest had been paid for or hired?
Yes.
And what sort of things had been stolen?
All sorts of material. Some of the seating. I mean, I was involved in getting some of it, but all sorts of material for it.
When you say you're involved in getting some of it, you, with others, stole it?
Yeah. Scaffolding.
Can I take it that none of the thieves were brought to justice?
Correct.
And was any of the stolen property returned?
No.
And was that because it was not your purpose to provide evidence for prosecutions?
Correct.
And there would have been obvious problems with prosecuting somebody when you'd done some of the stealing?
Yes, and these are quite small thefts individually.
Can we have paragraph 2, please? Give you a moment to read that.
Okay.
So can I take it from that you hired one of the lorries and drove one of the lorries?
Yes.
Can you help us with exactly what happened on the day with the lorry?
With when I was driving?
Yeah.
It had a lot of gear in it for bands and a sound system for bands to play, but we were unable to access the M41 from the route I'd been given. And I think we drove round, pursued by the police at very low speed for a while, trying to find a way onto the M41, but couldn't, and got blocked. And there was then a standoff between us, and various activists sat on the vehicle whilst the police tried to decide what to do, and then eventually the police decided to come and clear the activists off the vehicle and take possession of it, and they drove it off to local police station and impounded it.
Other than the fact that you'd reported on plans in advance, did you play any role in the police decision to impound the vehicle?
No.
Did your intelligence, to the best of your knowledge?
No, it was coincidental.
Did you witness any damage to the road surface?
No.
The report said there had been minor incidents of disorder.
Yeah.
What did you witness?
I remember there being missiles thrown at police as they tried to clear it at the end of the day. In fact, there was some quite full-on confrontation with the police and some of the demonstrators towards the end of the day. People get very drunk during the day for an event like that. So there was certainly, stuff was being thrown. There was clashes with the police, and there were efforts by some of the organisers to get people to leave to go to a squat party that had been arranged, I think.
Did the organisers do anything to try and calm or prevent the violence?
Well, they kept telling people to go back to the after party, which was a sort of squat party that had been arranged for the evening, I think.
Would they do things like tell people to stop throwing things at the police?
Not really.
And the people who were throwing things at the police, were any of them core organisers?
Not usually. You'd usually get a particular element, often sort of from Class War or some of the other groups that would come and piggyback onto RTS events that tended then to look to provoke the confrontation. But the structure of the temporary autonomous zone is quite amenable to that, because it by definition it sets up a barrier and a roadblock which is defendable. So it tends to be a clash point. As soon as the police want to clear the street, there's a barrier ready made, which is why these events tended to always kick off. It wasn't particularly the intention of the RTS organisers for it to kick off, but they were not unhappy. We were not unhappy if that happened.
When you say, we have just read a report which said that they wanted to avoid violence.
On this one, yeah.
So is it really right that they weren't unhappy when it happened?
Yeah, I'm afraid it is. In most cases, that was the case. I wasn't on the organising group for this, so I'm reporting this from slightly outside the main group.
Were you passing back any intelligence in real time during the course of the day?
No.
Are you able to assist us with how the advance intelligence that you provided was used on this occasion?
Not specifically, because that's somebody else's responsibility, but my understanding was that the policing plan would be based upon a briefing provided by Special Branch, which would be based on this reporting.
Could we take that document down now, please, and have C72 246 569? This is 16th of August 96, so about a month afterwards.
Okay.
It's about the aftermath. And if we could have paragraph 1 expanded, please. Give you a moment to read that.
Okay.
This has been written up as a result of your intelligence?
Probably.
What was your state of understanding of the doctrine of legal professional privilege at this time?
In relation to what?
Well, in general. Did you understand what legal professional privilege is?
I would have hoped so. I don't know what's been redacted.
Well, we've had to redact it because it
okay,
is privileged,
yeah, okay,
legally,
well.
professionally privileged
Okay,
information.
well then I would have, I've obviously got a general understanding of what that means. I wasn't present at any meeting he'd had with his solicitor. Possibly he told me something that I've repeated, in which case I don't remember doing that, but I can't see where else it would have come from to get into the report. But it certainly wouldn't have been the intention to breach it. So I suspect what's been redacted is not something that was sort of particularly pertinent. But I could be wrong because I don't know what it says.
If I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying you weren't at the meeting between the solicitor and the client.
Well, no, of course not.
But you did probably get this from the client and report it. Because
I presume I can use his name because it's in the report.
Yeah, because he told you.
I think Paul would have said something, or possibly somebody else would have said something about what was going on with this case, and I've just mentioned it to the office and somebody's written it up. But I don't know how pertinent the bit that's been redacted is.
Was there any reaction from the office to you reporting what you had been told a solicitor had advised Mr. Morozzo?
Well, I don't remember this, so I can't say.
Now, your witness statement says that you never reported legal professional privilege and the subject was not discussed. Does seeing an example of you doing so jog your memory?
Not really, because I think I've not sat down with the office here and said, I think this is what his legal strategy is. He's probably been advised by his solicitor to say nothing, or to steer clear of police, or to not get involved in anything criminal in the interim. It probably wouldn't have occurred to me that was, if I've passed that on, which I can't see how that wouldn't be for me. I don't think it would have occurred to me that was sensitive legal information. I probably just thought that was general background to explain why he was no longer active or whatever.
Could we go to page 2, paragraph 5? Give you a moment to read that.
Okay.
I'm interested in the phrase of various groups regarding RTS as the shock troops of the Green Movement,
Yeah.
undeterred by police or security staff.
Yeah.
What was the basis for that belief?
During the time I was involved with them, I had some dealings with other groups from the sort of Green Anarchist movement, and Reclaim the Streets were very much seen as the most full-on and committed group on that part of the spectrum.
Did any of them use the phrase shock troops?
I don't know. I mean, I can't remember what phrase anybody had used. I don't think that's very likely to be an activist phrase. That's probably something that the handlers put in.
I mean, they were certainly innovative, weren't they?
Yeah.
But given what we've just looked at, which was to the effect they were trying to avoid their street parties degenerating into violence, is it unfair to describe them as shock troops?
I mean, I'm not sitting here today to try to condemn RTS, but RTS were quite happy if it kicked off at their events. That's not the same as saying that they were looking to manufacture that. And I think that comes through in this reporting. I think this reporting is reasonably fair.
So in your words, if shock troops has come from the office...
Well, I would think so. I don't think that's likely to be... I mean, I don't know, it's 30 years ago. Did I use that phrase or did they? I don't know.
How would you describe them?
I think I just did. They were the most full-on group on that part of the spectrum.
And full on meaning what?
Well, full-on would be a term they would have used, meaning the most committed, the most proactive. Does that help?
But not necessarily, but not violent.
No, as I think I've already said, that their events attracted violent elements, but I don't think that the RTS organisers were violent in their approach. No.
Could we go to paragraph 6, please?
Okay.
What sort of media coverage were RTS getting at the time?
Quite a lot. Most of these events that you've talked about were front page news. There was features on them as well. Quite a lot of press coverage. It was a quieter time for the papers than it is now, and this was considered very newsworthy.
Why wasn't RTS engaging with the press?
Well, you might want to ask them that.
Well, you were mixing with them. You're reporting there was a lack of willing spokespeople.
Okay. I think the main organisers didn't want to be identified as the main organisers in the national press. That's not in their interests. They're going to risk arrest and consequence. You get other people like Mr. Roger Geffen here who were less involved as organisers but were very happy to speak to the press and raise their own profile. But the main organisers tended not to want to draw attention on themselves.
And I appreciate this may seem like a silly question, but I would like you to spell it out. Why?
Why would they not want to draw attention to themselves? Because they don't want to be arrested and prosecuted.
For
organising wide-scale disorder. Or for digging up the M41, I mean.
Roger Geffen, what did he talk to you about why he was using a pseudonym?
I don't think I knew Roger Geffen very well at all. I knew Paul much better, but I think Roger Geffen was more involved as a sort of cycling activist, and I didn't consider that he was, and no disrespect, but I didn't consider he was a significant organiser within Reclaim the Streets, so I don't remember having much contact with Roger.
Was he a man who needed to fear arrest?
No. That was why he was quite happy to speak to the press, because he wasn't, apart from, he was on the organising group for the M41, I think that was the only one.
So if he's not at risk of arrest, why is he using a pseudonym?
Well, that's a question for him, surely.
You're mixing with the group. What was your understanding of why he was doing that?
I have no idea why he felt it was necessary to use a pseudonym. Perhaps he feared arrest.
Could we take that down now, please? I want to move to events on the 5th of August 1996.
Forgive me for interrupting, but before you do, I do have a question arising out of the M41 incident, and perhaps now's the time to ask it. In the report that you put in before the M41 event on the 13th of July, you said that only the organisers knew where the actual venue was.
Yes.
You then said that an individual sat you down and with an A to Z showed you exactly where it was,
yes,
so that you knew where to drive
yes,
the lorry that you'd hired. When was that?
About 2 days beforehand. So that individual was Paul Mortzo, who's on
Yes.
the report here. So you'd had an organising group, I think it was about 8 people for this. Mm-hmm. The public documents told them to meet at Liverpool Street and then they would move to the venue. But obviously, close to the date, you would need to tell other people what the venue was, and that would need to include the drivers. Yeah. That was about 2 days beforehand.
And you were shown precisely where it was on an A to Z?
Yeah, and then I briefed Special Branch with where it was. Yeah.
Thank you. That's...
Geographically, we're going to Surbiton and also to the Pinkerton's office. If
Okay.
we could have up, please, C68 246 520. Dated the 5th of August, it's dated the 2nd of August about a forthcoming event on the 5th. If we could have the text expanded. I'll give you a moment to read that.
Okay.
Can you help us first of all with how did you get this intelligence?
I was involved with it.
Could you describe the level of your involvement?
I don't think I was involved in organising it. I think I was just asked to come along.
But enough to 3 days beforehand report all of this.
Yeah.
Why do you comment definitely a B team effort?
Because within Reclaim the Streets, the original founding group, Paul Morozzo's group, were considered to be the main organising team, and then those of us that were coming through sort of behind them gradually came to the fore and took more and more precedence. So it didn't involve any of those well-known activists who had organised the M41. It was people like me who were coming through the group later.
And Monica.
And Monica, yeah.
Do you know whether any of this intelligence was shared with either the coach company or the security company before the 5th?
No, but I doubt it.
And why do you doubt it?
Because it's a very small action, which means that if it's compromised, the chances of people working out the source of the intelligence is very high, and it's not worth taking that risk for such a low-key action as this.
Did this action actually go ahead?
I think it did, yeah.
Did you participate in it?
No, I don't think I did. But I was down... No, I don't think I was. No. I don't remember ever doing an action at Surbiton. I might be wrong about that. Because we did a lot of actions then, I might have... I don't remember ever doing one at Surbiton, but...
At that stage, how long had you known Monica?
Maybe, I'm guessing between maybe 6 months. That could be wrong as well, though.
And you knew her as an RTS activist?
Yes.
The bottom of this report refers to a focus on Pinkerton's security.
Yeah.
What was the basis for reporting that?
Well, it's obviously of security interest if they're planning an action against a particular target. I would put that in.
Did you attend a planning meeting for an action against Pinkerton's security?
I'm not sure, because there was another series of actions against Pinkerton's later where I definitely was at the meeting, but I think this is a different one, so I don't remember attending it. If other people say I was there, they're probably right, and I probably just don't remember it.
Monica recalls you being there and becoming angry that there wasn't a plan and then leaving. Might that be right?
No, that doesn't sound very likely, but since I don't recall being there. Was this... Sorry, am I allowed to ask, was this in Surbiton action?
This is against the Pinkerton's office in southwest London.
And so it may have been that I was looking for an excuse to leave, because I think I lived in that area in my own life at the time, so I wouldn't have wanted to be hanging around an area where I might be seen by people who knew me. So I might have been looking for a reason to withdraw from any involvement in the action. That does sound vaguely familiar, actually. I think I wouldn't want to be involved in an action very close to my real home address.
Could we take that document down and have up tab C71 246 565? This is a nominal pro forma dated the 16th of August 1996 about Monica. And if we expand the text, please. I'll give you a moment to read that.
Okay.
Is it right that you were not present when Monica was arrested on the 5th of August at a Pinkerton security office?
Yes.
Did you report to your managers on preparations for that action?
I don't know.
Do you know whether or not SDS intelligence was used to forewarn Pinkertons?
I don't know. The dissemination of intelligence after I've passed it across isn't something I'm going to be overly familiar with, I'm afraid. That's the duty of the handler and the controller.
Had you been to Monica's flat?
I don't know when I first... This is the squat in Hackney?
It's a squat near London Fields.
I certainly went there, but at what point I went there, I couldn't say.
So this reads, Monica is now residing at the above address, which is
in that case, obviously had been there, yeah. So.
Even more squalid than the usual squat near London Fields. I beg your pardon, so
Okay.
This is a different squat to London
I
Fields.
certainly went to Monica's squat. At what point I first went there, I don't know, but it looks like I've obviously just been there because I've commented on it.
What did you mean by squalid?
It was the squat that I went to was in particularly bad shape. The toilet had been smashed by the landlord so that people wouldn't be able to squat it. I think there was no running water. The floorboards were up in some places. Some of the windows, I think, weren't there.
Were those squatting the address making efforts to do their best to keep it habitable?
To the extent that people can do when a place is in very poor condition when they squat it, yeah. I mean, in my experience, squatters generally try to look after where they're living because they're living there. But often, in order to deter them, people would smash the bathroom and make the premises as unpleasant as possible, so it's not really habitable.
Was this intended as a slight to those who were living there?
Well, no. It's probably more of a comment on the nature of the squat, surely.
Can we take that down now? I want to move now to your arrest on the 7th of August 1996 within London Transport headquarters. To what extent were you involved in preparations for that action?
There were several actions on the same day. I think it was a day of a railway and tube strike. And there were several actions intended to ensure that the strike action was as effective as possible. So, for instance, there was a cycle group that was having a separate demo aiming to slow down any traffic that was still moving. Our action was intended to disrupt the headquarters of London Underground. There were maybe a dozen of us on it, so I think everybody planned it together.
And what was the plan?
Well, plans can be quite fluid, but the plan was to target the headquarters of London Underground at St James's Park. I think the original plan was to get in. I think there was a control room there. The original plan was to get into the control room to disrupt any trains that were being run. The managers were still running some trains. So I think the intention was to get into the control room to disrupt that for any trains that were still running. But in the event we weren't able to do that, so we ran up the stairs, pursued by the police, and then ran along the 10th floor where we came across the chairman's office fortuitously, so we went in there instead.
Did you report in advance on the plan to get into the building and cause disruption?
I reported it in advance on the plan as it was beforehand. The plan wasn't that specific, so I reported that building was being targeted, yeah.
And how soon before the 7th of August were you able to report the plan?
When it was decided, which was probably only a couple of days.
Was there any prior cooperation between RTS and the police on this, about this action?
No.
On the day itself, you've described that you went into the chairman's room with others and you were arrested there,
Yes.
and you were taken to a police station
Charing Cross.
with others.
Yes.
Did you receive legal advice?
No.
None at all in the police station?
No. I did request it, actually, because when I was waiting on the bench to be booked in, one of the other defendants called to me that Mr. Schwartz was the solicitor, so we should ask to see Mr. Schwartz, as the form was being filled in. So I think I said what she said, put it on the form, but I was basically put in a cell, held there for, I think, 8 or 10 hours, and then just released. And at no stage was I offered any legal counsel or invited out of the room, out of the cell.
Can we have up B43 526753? Can we have, this is a minute sheet, can we have, I think that's the bit I want, in fact, the first, under the word number 2, Mr. Dockers, Superintendent Dockers, top comment, please. Sorry, the bit below, the paragraph below. Thank you. This is from a minute from Superintendent Eric Docker to Superintendent HN 337, if you wish to check your cipher.
I don't think it matters. But
Superintendent, I'll give you a moment to do that.
I think there's too many names on this cipher. I can't see it. No, I don't think it matters.
Yeah, if you change your mind, just say so. What Superintendent Docker appears to be doing is passing on a report about your arrest in terms which say you will, to see this most illuminating report, ! Please return to me. Superintendent HN 337 is saying, seen and enjoyed, well done, Jim. Did any of that sentiment filter down to you?
I think I was shown this, yeah.
I beg your pardon?
I think I was shown this. I've seen it before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did that sentiment filter down to you?
Well, if it was shown to me, I would have read it.
Oh, sorry, you mean shown to you at the time?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
And so your managers were pleased?
Yeah.
Can we look now at B61 246957? And this is DCI Edmondson's report about your arrest dated the 10th of August 1996. If we could have paragraph 4 expanded, please. Give you a moment to look at that.
Okay.
Will be of tremendous value in boosting his standing within the group. Was that sentiment conveyed to you?
Was this not in the file with the minutes that you just showed
Yeah.
me? Yeah, so I think I read the file at the time. So
Right, including this.
yeah, I don't remember it specifically, but it looks like it was probably what the minute refers to this document, and I would have read it at the time, yeah.
So did you understand that your managers positively thought that being arrested was of tremendous value?
Yeah, I think arrests were often seen that way. If it was there was no repercussion from it and it was from quite a minor thing. I think this might have been written before. A charge was something different. So at the time of my arrest, I didn't anticipate being charged with anything because I was sort of unlucky to be arrested. But public order arrests are sometimes unavoidable if you're with people who get arrested frequently for public order offences.
In general terms, what was management's approach to being arrested?
Don't get arrested for anything that's going to result in a charge, probably. That's probably about it. I was aware that officers had been arrested and charged previously, and that was much more complicated.
Can we take that down now, please? And can we have B46 749 784? This is a letter to you dated the 23rd of September 1996 to you at Vicarage Road. Did you receive this letter?
If I did, I would have given it to the office. I don't think I did. Don't remember this.
We have recovered this document from police sources.
Oh,
if
okay.
that
Well, in that case,
assists
I've
you.
given it to the office, so yeah.
I'll give you a moment to read it, but it's the arrangement in the third paragraph that I'm most interested in.
Yeah.
So, Bindmans are arranging for everyone to come to their offices on Tuesday, the 8th of October.
Yes.
Does everyone mean all of those charged?
I assume so.
Did you attend that meeting?
No.
Can you help us with the circumstances in which you did not attend it?
I just didn't attend it.
Was that a conscious decision on your part?
Yes, I certainly discussed it with the office. So if this was in police files, I've obviously given the office the letter I've received, which is this one, and asked for their guidance. And I think their guidance was, don't attend the meeting with the solicitor. So I didn't.
If we can take that down, can we have a B61 246 957? And could we have page 3, please? Thank you. This is a report again from DCI Edmondson. It's the 26th of September. Yeah. And if we look first of all at paragraph 2, we will see what you were charged with.
Section 5, yeah.
If we then go to paragraphs 4 and 5, give you a moment to absorb that.
Yeah.
It appears that you're going to be jointly represented by Michael Schwartz with your co-defendants, and you are going to be funded by legal aid.
Oh, sorry, I was reading the wrong paragraph. Yeah, so I think when it wasn't when I was arrested, as I've already said. I remember when we went to there was a sort of pre-hearing where Mike Schwartz spoke to me and offered to represent me, and he said that he was representing all the other defendants. I think there were 8, of whom 6 of us attended and two failed to appear. Mike Schwartz said he was representing everybody else and he would represent me as well. And obviously I was aware there was a problem with that, because in order to claim legal aid, they needed details of your dole claim, and there were issues around dole claims for undercover officers.
If I could stop you there.
So yeah.
The question I've got for you, is it right that the issue from management's perspective doesn't appear to be your appearing with co-defendants or being represented by Michael Schwartz with them? The issue is a security issue
Yes.
around funding for legal aid.
Correct, yeah.
And there isn't any issue with you being legally aided itself. It's a yes-no answer, it's another issue.
It's a security issue.
You go on to be to appear at court on the 23rd of October 1996 is your first appearance. So you must have had some inkling about, or some thought about representation before that first appearance. Can you recall how that arose?
My recollection of it, that Mike Schwartz offered to represent me because he was representing everybody else.
And was that you've said earlier?
I don't know which. It was outside the court at Horseferry Road, but I think it must have been a preliminary hearing. It obviously wasn't the main hearing. That was where we had that conversation. I think that's the only conversation I've ever had with Mr. Schwartz, actually.
You gave some evidence earlier about putting Mike Schwartz down on your paperwork at Charing Cross Police Station.
Yeah.
Did you take it that from then onwards the plan would be that you would be jointly represented by him?
Well, I didn't expect to be represented by anybody because I didn't expect to be charged.
If you were charged?
We didn't discuss that because we didn't think there was any chance of me being
When you
charged.
were charged, was there ever any consideration of you being represented in any other way?
No.
Could we take that down, please? Could we have up B48 749 782? Could we come off the YouTube stream for this, please?
contradicted at the end of our hearing. So as far as I was concerned, I was giving evidence as a defendant of one of 6 people for the public order charge. John's plea of guilty to that was something totally separate.
And would I be right to understand that the court did not know who you really were?
Correct. Yeah.
Was there any discussion with management about you giving evidence in a false identity?
Not that I remember.
Is there any consideration of the impact of the court not knowing that you were in fact an undercover police officer? Would it follow that during the course of that trial you would have received legal advice from Mr. Schwartz or someone else from his firm?
No, I didn't receive any legal aid or legal advice from them.
Well, presumably you would have had a brief and a solicitor.
There was a short meeting beforehand with Mr. Schwartz and the barrister, in which they said something along the lines of, "We're going to do whatever we discussed at whatever meeting I wasn't present for," and then we went into court.
When you say there was, can I just stop you there? In the meeting, who was present in that meeting?
But it wasn't a meeting. It was just they said, right, everybody knows, we're going to discuss it as discussed between.
That conversation, who was party to it?
The defendants.
So you were present with the other defendants, being spoken to by your counsel, by your solicitor.
You're going to go along a misleading line here. This is not a tactical discussion, I would say, if it was. It was just saying, are we all ready to go as discussed? There was no sort of discussion of tactics. If there was, I would say so, because that makes no difference to me. But as far as I was concerned, it was, are we all ready to go with the barrister, with Mr. Schwartz, and then we went into the courtroom. I wasn't even expecting to be called to give evidence at all, and I'm not sure, I don't think I was aware I was giving evidence till I was called to give evidence, although I know when I said this to my solicitor here, he thought it was incredibly unlikely, but I think I was sat in the defendant's box and I got called and I hadn't been prepped or expected to be called at all. But if I was, it would have been just outside the court when they would have said, right, everybody's going to give evidence. I don't think there was any sort of tactical discussion that I was party to. And I don't think you can make a discussion about, are we ready to get started, and say that's a tactical discussion. It isn't. It's just asking if everybody's ready. That was the only conversation I ever had with the barrister or with Mr. Schwartz. There was no sort of tactical discussion of the case at all. I think I just avoided it.
Did anyone take instructions from you as to what your account was?
No. But we all gave the same account, I think, which was truthful.
And the result was?
We were all acquitted. Except then, of course, John's previous plea then got dealt with at the end. Yeah.
Understood. Can we have up B43 526 753 at page 7? And if we could have, first of all, if you see this is a note from DCI Edmondson to Detective Superintendent Docker at S Squad. If we could have paragraphs 3 and 4 expanded, please. This is his note after the hearing. It says, whatever the intention, the magistrates were able at the start of the defence case to suggest to the defence solicitor representing DC Boyling and his co-defendants that he need proceed no further, as the police had failed to make any viable case against them. In fact, the case was dismissed and costs were awarded against police. Is that note, on the basis of the evidence you've just given, inaccurate in that the case was not dismissed after the prosecution case you had, as a defendant, to give evidence?
I remember at the end of the first day, the magistrate, a woman magistrate, very clearly suggested that she thought there was no case to answer. And our barrister, who I'm guessing you don't want me to identify, she said to him, are you accepting there's a case to answer? And he said, yes, we are. And there was then a pause while she sort of looked at him over the top of her glasses, expecting him to offer to have it dismissed. he said nothing, so we all then came back the next day. But I remember in the defendant's box, we were all looking at each other, wondering. It was very clear that she thought there was no case to answer and the whole thing was going to be thrown out. And we came back the next day. The defendants sort of cynically thought it might be to advance the legal aid payment, because we came back and it was sort of then binned. As soon as there was the first opportunity for the magistrate to bin it, she binned it.
Thank you for the explanation, but the bottom line is this report is inaccurate because you did have to proceed further and give evidence.
I did give evidence, yeah.
Can we have paragraph 4, please? Looking at that, saying that it could not have come to a better conclusion and that you were to be praised with the way in which you dealt with each of the court appearances suggests that DCI Edmondson had no qualms whatsoever about one of his undercover police officers giving evidence in a false identity in a trial with co-defendants. Is that fair?
Is it fair that he had no problem?
Is it accurate that he had no problem?
Yeah.
Did he convey these views to you?
I don't remember him doing so, but he might well have done.
Did you understand that it was thought that you'd done a great job?
I was aware that it wasn't any sort of problem, and it was just seen in the context of advancing your credibility.
If we could take that down now, please. Could we have B43 526 753? Could we have page 4, please? This is another minute, and it's the minute from Docker to Pierce, the bottom one. Thank you. So at the bottom of that, 27th of January 97, Superintendent Docker to Detective Superintendent Pierce, please see 7A, please, which reports a most satisfactory conclusion to this drawn-out affair and once again highlights the professionalism and dedication of our SDS officers. I will speak to DC Boyling personally on my next visit to the unit. Did he?
No, I don't think so.
Did you understand at the time that it wasn't just your immediate managers within the SDS, but also the higher chain of command who thought that you had done a very good job?
Only to the extent that I'd seen the minute that you showed me previously.
Did anyone during your time in the SDS ever raise a question as to whether the court should be told that an undercover police officer was giving evidence?
Wasn't raised to me, but that would be higher up the food chain to where I was. There were quite a few arrests whilst I was on the section. It wasn't unusual.
Yes, no answer to this. Are you aware of any case in which one of your colleagues, whilst you were serving, gave evidence to a court and the court was informed?
No.
If we could take that down now, please. I want to move to an action which took place in Brighton on the 24th of August 1996. If we could have up, please, from C76 246589. This is 24th of August 1996. Street party in Brighton, 800 people, some disorder, mood antagonistic.
Yeah.
And this is written up on the 3rd of September. It's an ex post facto report. Could we look at paragraph 1, please?
Yeah.
This event is mentioned in one of your previous reports, and then you reported in detail on the plans on the 24th of August. Can you help us with the extent to which you were involved in the planning of this event?
I wasn't involved in planning it. Brighton Earth First was an independent group from us, but I was one of a small group from Reclaim the Streets who went down a couple of days early to help them get it together.
And is that how you gleaned the information you were able to report?
Probably, yeah. I mean, unless I reported it earlier, it would depend on the date. If the report with the detail is a couple of days beforehand, then yes, it would be.
It was dated the date of the...
Yeah. So it's from. I probably phoned it through somehow from Brighton whilst I was there.
Are you able to help us with whether or not the local activists liaised with police in advance?
No, they didn't.
You know that.
I mean, I would be astonished if they did.
Could we look at paragraph 2, please? Chaos and mayhem in Brighton demonstrates the fact that disorder and disruption are the most likely result of police preventing RTS and allied activists from achieving their desired objective. A static party causes fewer problems than a rolling confrontation does, and it is easier to contain. Mm-hmm. Would it be fair to describe this as you, as someone who by this stage has some experience of RTS and its ways, and that of related activists, giving advice to police about how to police these events more effectively?
Yes.
Can you help us with your recollections of the day so that we can understand the level of chaos and mayhem?
Goodness me, okay. Again, 30 years ago, but I remember that the relations between the local group and the police weren't good. The local police were quite hostile, tried to kettle the crowd in, confiscated their equipment. The crowd managed to pour out down a couple of the side streets. And then for the rest of the day, it was a running sort of battle through the side streets, being chased by police right the way through till darkness. And I think there were actually over 90 arrests. It was a yeah.
When you say a running battle,
Yeah.
From what you actually saw yourself,
Yeah.
can you give us a flavour of what that means?
Damage to vehicles, missiles being thrown at police charging into the crowd, sometimes trying to pull people out.
Was this disorder perpetrated, at least in part, by people who were closely associated with RTS?
I don't know, because most of the people who were causing it wouldn't have been known to me. It was in Brighton. There were some Reclaim the Streets people involved in the disorder, and most of us just running through the streets as part of the whole thing. If you're asking, do Reclaim the Streets organisers throw missiles and such, not many, no, very rarely. That helps you.
Can we move now to page 2, paragraph 1? Some more description there of what happened. Mm-hmm. Included in that was the phrase, there was remarkably little damage caused to property. Mm-hmm. Can you help us with how much damage was caused to property?
Not really. I remember there was damage to a McDonald's or one of those sort of chains as the crowd went past. I remember that quite a few vehicles got damaged. But considering it was, it went on all day and there were that many arrests, that's not much damage. You would have expected a lot more.
Could we take that down now, please? And could we have C83 246 648? Going to move now to the Earth First South East Regional Gathering between the 20th and the 22nd of September 1996, held in a barn near Seaford, East Sussex. If we look at the bottom half of that first page, please. I'll give you a moment to refresh your memory, but I am interested in the reference to the Ozymandias Sabotage Skill Manual.
Okay. Yeah.
You have reported, and someone has written up, on the subject of incitement, a publication entitled The Ozymandias Sabotage Skill Manual was circulated to some acclaim.
Yeah.
Can you help us with to whom this was circulated?
Amongst the first people at the gathering.
And what form did the acclaim take?
That it was very professionally produced, very well laid out, very clear.
Did you see the document on that occasion?
I mean, I would have seen it, but I did have possession of it subsequently. I think that was immediately afterwards, though.
Righto. Well, we can take this down and we can go to C94 246841, which is a report dated the 22nd of November 1996, so
Okay.
a couple of months later, when you submit a copy. Do I take it from your last answer that you obtained the copy not in September but at some later date?
Yes, I think I saw it at the gathering, but I didn't have possession of a copy of it until whatever date this is.
No names for the moment. How did you obtain that copy?
I was given it by another activist.
Would you be able to write down the name of the activist who gave it to you? What form did this document take? By which I mean, was it a fully bound book or was it presented in some other format?
So not dissimilar to this pile of papers, but with a more professional binding. But it looked like somebody had printed it out on a professional printer, page by page, and then bound it at home.
Do you know who wrote it?
I could take a guess, and I think I did put in a report guessing, but I don't know for sure who wrote it. I did speculate as to who was the principal writer, but I'm not certain that would be correct.
Well, with that caveat, could you write down the names of the people that you understood had produced this document?
Okay. This could be wrong.
Understood.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did you read it?
Yeah, I went through it to see what the content was.
We've got a gist.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons, we don't want to publish the contents. The gist which has been agreed is manual containing, inter alia, information likely to be of use in conducting economic sabotage, including information likely to be of use in making an IID. Is that a fair summary of the contents?
Yes.
Do you know who was compiling the third volume?
No, it's the same as my previous answer. I wasn't certain where it had come from. I was sort of guessing through some circumstantial evidence, and that's what I would have said to the office. I know who had copies, but I wasn't certain who was producing it. I just had a likely name.
The handbook circulation is extremely limited, with copies being sent anonymously to only a small group of activists.
Yeah.
Do I take it from that last answer that you did not know who was circulating it?
Yeah.
To your knowledge, was this handbook used by the activists that you were mingling with?
I don't know. Most of the volume would have been intended. Most of it was about how to sabotage vehicles on things like road camps, which wasn't really what we were doing. So it would probably been used more in that context. I wasn't aware of. No, I wasn't aware of anybody directly connected to me using it directly.
So can I take it from that answer that you were never aware of anyone manufacturing an improvised incendiary device?
Correct.
Or using knowledge from the manual to sabotage machinery?
Correct.
It says in paragraph 3 that it was intended to eventually circulate the book via the internet. To your knowledge, was it ever so circulated by those you were mixing with?
I don't know who circulated it, but I saw a copy of it on the internet. I don't know who posted it there.
Can we take that down, please? Can we move now to Reclaim the Future, an event in Liverpool over the 28th to the 30th of September 1996? We have got a mention of it coming up, and then 3 reports in which you, first of all, submit a draft leaflet, but then provide some intelligence on preparations and accommodation plans. Can you help us with the degree of access that you had to the planning of this event?
Initially, very low. But then once I was actually in Liverpool for the event, I got briefed on the whole thing very late, including the key part of it, which was an attempt to close down the railway access into the docks using scaffolding tripods. And I was made aware of where the scaffolding was stashed, which was the key part of it.
Do you know what was done with that intelligence?
I passed it on to Bob Lambert, and in consequence the local police intercepted the vehicle and confiscated all the scaffolding at about 5 a.m. on the day of the action, I think.
Can we have up C79 246 610? Can we look in particular at the last 2 paragraphs? This is a report of the 12th of September, so a couple of weeks beforehand. Mm-hmm. Give you a moment to look at that.
Okay.
So here you're reporting on details of a plan to occupy cranes,
Yeah.
and so forth. Were you involved in the procurement of any of the equipment that was going to be used on this action?
Not that I remember, but I might have been.
So, for example, did you obtain a scanner or play any role in obtaining a scanner?
No, I didn't obtain a scanner.
Did you play any role in cutting equipment to get through fences or railings?
Not on this occasion.
If we look now, if you take that down, C84 246 679, please. This is a report dated the 4th of October, so an ex post facto report. Were you present in Liverpool over that weekend?
Yes, I was.
Did you provide any live intelligence?
The intelligence that I provided was the evening immediately before. I'm not sure if you consider that to be live. So I provided a phone call to Bob Lambert to tell him the intention is to block the railway coming into the docks, so it will close the docks down using scaffolding, which is hidden behind the Union building in a lorry and is going to be moved at about 4 a.m. I think that was the general gist of it.
Did you report at all on the 28th, 29th or 30th?
Are they the days beforehand?
Yeah, no, that's the weekend of the action. And to the Monday.
I've just said it was, so that would be the weekend when I phoned Bob Lambert, I think.
Right, so on the Sunday before the action on the Monday?
I think so. It was pretty tight. We were already there. It might have been the day before that, but it was...
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we have a look at the last paragraph at the bottom of page 1, please? That refers to the tripod being intercepted.
That's what I was talking about.
That's what you were talking about. Also talks about fences being cut.
Yes.
Some holes being pre-cut in the fencing.
Yeah.
Were you involved in cutting the fencing at all?
Yeah, I think I was, yeah.
And
I'm not sure if I was involved in pre-cutting them, but I certainly went through the fencing into the site. So probably involved in cutting it, yeah.
if we go over the page to the penultimate paragraph, there's reference there to cutting steel bars under the cover of some drumming. I'll give you a moment to read it.
Okay.
Did you witness that?
I think so.
Did you participate in it?
No.
Was the fence cutting and the cutting of the steel bars the limit of the criminality on this occasion, or did you witness any other criminality?
I think there were isolated incidents of damage. I mean, I'm struggling to think of exactly what it was. Yeah, I mean, there would be isolated incidents of damage. There was also, I think somebody else has written this after I gave it in, because there was some very aggressive behaviour by the local police towards the dockers and the activists. Yeah, there were various clashes, both ways.
When you say various clashes both ways, can you describe to us the level, help calibrate the level of disorder?
I remember when we walked back to the squat at the end of the action, there were some clashes between some of the people that were with us and some of the Liverpool police. And then there was some very provocative behaviour by the Liverpool police towards some of the activists, which provoked some further clashes and a bit of anger. And then I remember when we came to the squat, the police had set up a sort of a gauntlet to get into the squat. It was very much an attempt to intimidate the London contingent so they wouldn't come back. I did report that, so I think that might have been slightly edited from this.
Was Monica's role on this action to stay in the customs house and make food?
I don't remember what Monica was doing on this action, I'm afraid.
Can we take this down, please? C86 246720. This is a report dated the 18th of October 1996, and it's the paragraph 2, including the source comment. Give you a moment to read that.
Yeah.
It's a source comment that I'm interested in,
Okay.
and the Russian Revolution. How did you ascertain, or who told you that the name Reclaim the Streets was connected to a Russian revolutionary adage?
I think the adage was, if you want to seize power, you must first reclaim the streets. And that's attributed to, I can't remember who, but it's from that period and that movement. But the full quote from which the name was taken, because the name is often taken at the time by the press to mean something against cars and vehicles, but the full quote was, if you want to seize power, you must first reclaim the streets.
And can you help us with your basis for reporting that it was the Russian revolutionary connection that was the root of the name, as opposed to an environmental aspiration?
Yeah, because it was pointed out to me by somebody within the group that it's a frequent misreading of the name by regional groups, that they attribute a different meaning to the name, but the name comes from that revolutionary adage.
Was the person who told you a core organiser?
Yes. Well, I think so, if I remember correctly.
Unless you've seen their name unredacted in the documents already, could you write it down? If you
I'm not sure I'm going to get that right, so I'd rather not, because it could be wrong. But someone from the core group, I think his name has already been used. I think it might have been Paul, but if Paul doesn't remember it and he's saying that's wrong, then I will bow to his recollection.
And was it only one person who ever said that to you?
No, I think I saw it written down on one of the flyers, that the full quote, if you want to seize power, you must first reclaim the streets, written on Reclaim the Streets flyers. But as the movements, nobody has the copyright on the name of these movements, so as they evolve, other people tend to put separate meanings on the name and interpret the name in different ways. But the original group, that was where I was told the name had originally come from.
How much talk was there within RTS of changing the system of government?
Endless.
How much revolutionary potency did RTS have?
Well, they sought the end of the global capitalist system and replacing it with a consensus-driven anarchist model.
Well, that's an answer that goes to their revolutionary aspirations.
Yeah.
What my question is directed at is, what level of potency did they have to secure those aspirations?
Well, they were probably the number one public order priority for Special Branch at the time, so that's pretty high rating.
Was RTS regarded as subversive by the SDS?
I don't think that's the way in which SDS looked upon it. SDS looked upon them as a huge public order organisation for which we had a very direct tasking in order to provide intelligence briefings on their events for them to be policed effectively. I don't think SDS cared whether or not they were subversive or trying to overthrow the state, merely whether they were a public order risk.
Are you able to help us with whether Special Branch regarded RTS as subversive or purely a public order threat?
I would probably give the same sort of answer. Special Branch wasn't particularly concerned about revolutionary politics. It was more concerned with customer-driven intelligence briefings.
On the question of customers, are you able to help us with whether the security service was a customer for intelligence about RTS?
I don't think so. I mean, a lot of intelligence got passed to them anyway, but this wasn't, public order wasn't their area at that time. So, although they did have a desk which dealt with it, we didn't view them as a customer, I don't think. We didn't view them as a customer particularly.
Am I to take that answer as a no or a don't know?
I would put that as a don't know, but probably no.
Okay. So would now be a convenient time to take the afternoon break.
Certainly. 10 minutes or 15? 10, right, 10 minutes.
Halloween 1996, please, Mr. Boyling, and Cowley Road, Oxford. There was an RTS event there. I'll call up the document to refresh your memory.
Please, yeah.
C91 246 780, please. And if we could have over the page. Sorry, 246 780. This is an ex post facto report, 6th of November 1996, and if we could have the first three paragraphs in particular, please. The last street party of the season took place in Oxford town centre on Thursday evening, when Cowley Road was blocked to traffic by the Desert Storm sound system and about 600 people. Did you provide any advance intelligence for this event?
I don't remember whether I knew about it in detail beforehand. I would have provided intelligence that it was happening, but I don't think I knew the plan beforehand.
Do you know whether or not there was any advance cooperation this time between RTS and the local police?
I don't know.
Were you there?
Yes.
Were you there for the whole event?
I mean, I was there for a while. I'm not sure what you consider the end of the event, and I'm not sure at what point I left. Yeah, I don't remember how long I was there for, but I was definitely there.
If we look at the second paragraph, this describes essentially a laissez-faire approach to policing, which you are describing as effectively pulling the teeth of the event, which requires a degree of police opposition to work effectively as an action.
Yes.
Unopposed, it literally is just a street party devoid of the necessary element of political significance.
Yes.
Can you help us with whether the police tactics on that occasion were affected in any way by SDS intelligence?
I don't know.
Or corporate learning?
I don't know.
And if we go now to paragraph 3, the London Group has now recovered the computer equipment seized in the raid on their Oakfield Road offices following the M41 action. The new computer password is Gamble Gold. Were you expected to report computer passwords?
I don't know. Computers were quite new 30 years ago. I don't recall any specific briefing that was specific to computer equipment.
Do you know what was done with the password?
What was done with it? How do you mean?
What it was used for?
Getting into the computer?
Were you given any guidance or training on the circumstances in which you might report somebody's password for the purposes of gaining access to a computer?
No, this was still the infancy of computers. When I left Special Branch, they still had a typing pool. They didn't use many computers. It was a long time ago.
Any mention of the Computer Misuse Act 1990?
No.
Were you aware of that act at the time?
No.
Could we take that down, please? To move now to the Dartford crossing and the 10th of December 1996 action. Could we start, please, with tab C92 737228. Can we have this is from Detective Inspector Lambert.
Yeah.
dated the 11th of December. If we could have the text expanded, please. As you know, the attached report, together with subsequent briefings, formed the basis of an operation coordinated by CE Squad and Arnie, which successfully disrupted a plan by RTS to intercept and immobilise a BP oil tanker on the M25 yesterday.
Yeah.
Can you help us, first of all, why was Arnie involved in an action by non-animal rights activists?
I didn't know they were. You'd have to ask Bob Lambert.
Could we have page 2, please? This, if we go over the page, just to see the end of it. Thank you. So this is before the action, 6th of December 1996, from DCI, signed off by DCI Edmondson, an event pro forma. If we look at the first paragraph, please. How did you get that intelligence?
I was brought onto the action by the organisers and asked to be one of the drivers.
Can you recall how close to the day you were brought in as a driver?
Not really, quite late, I think.
So this is on the 6th, 4 days before the action. Are you likely to have reported it straight away?
Yeah.
How closely were you involved in the organisation from that point onwards?
Of this event?
Yes.
Only as a driver.
And did that involve someone explaining to you the plan?
Yes.
Did you propose any amendments to it?
To the plan?
Yes.
I may have done. I was worried about the high danger element in the plan as they had it, and I might well have suggested changes to it.
Can you explain what dangers you perceived? Well, first of all, what the original plan was and what dangers you perceived in it.
I think the plan was to block the M25 ahead of a tanker with 4 vehicles driving abreast across the 4 lanes of the M25 as they were at that point at that time. The vehicles were then to drive abreast and to slow down gradually, bringing the whole of the traffic behind them on the M25 to a halt and blockading the M25, and then people from the vehicles would then get out and lock on to the BP tanker to ensure that that didn't move either. The danger of that is that if you're in the fast lane of the M25 and you slow down to a halt, you're very likely to get hit from behind. And you're very likely to cause a pile-up.
Was there a plan, I assume there must have been, for the lock-on to get out of the vehicles and walk on the motorway to the tanker and lock on?
So the intention was we would slow down, we would stop all the traffic, and we would slow down just ahead of the tanker, and that then activists from the vehicles would lock onto the tanker to ensure that the tanker stayed even if we got moved on.
And was there any plan at that stage as to how the protest would end?
Not that I remember. There probably was, but I don't remember what it was.
And presumably it would be when someone came along and sawed off the locks.
Presumably. There might have been a specific... I don't remember a plan for the end, because our focus was that it's not allowed to go ahead at all.
How many people knew of the plan?
Well, I think about 20 to 30, maybe 20 to 30.
Do you know what was done with the intelligence when you reported it?
Yes, it was passed on to the local police. And when we arrived to carry out the action, we were intercepted by a lot of local police.
Can we have paragraph 2, please?
Okay.
Can you help us with the basis for reporting that Mr. Geffen was a principal organiser for the RTS?
No, I don't remember him being involved in organising this action. I don't know if that's correct or not. If it is correct, then I just don't remember him being involved in organising it, because the organiser who briefed me was somebody different. But
Well, his evidence is that he was not a principal organiser. You seem to be agreeing with him. Is that fair?
What was he on this action?
He says he was, but not
Not
as an
principal.
organiser.
Okay, well, I would imagine then that it's quite simple. At the time that I wrote this, I thought he was, because now I'm surprised that I put him down as one. But in fact, the organisers, as it became clear to me who they were, would be different people. So if this was submitted 4 days before the event, I probably thought he was an organiser at that time, and then realised it was other people who were organising it, and he was just a participant, the same as me.
Reads at the end, this arrangement will be subject to alteration at a rehearsal to be staged today. Did you participate in the rehearsal?
I don't think there was one, but if there was, I don't remember it. Action planning is always in a state of flux.
Was there any discussion of safety and safety precautions in the planning?
Don't think so.
You've briefly touched on it already, but could you describe further what happened on the day? Large numbers of police there?
It was very obvious that the police were briefed, because it was very early in the morning, and they were there waiting for us on the road, and they pulled over all the vehicles. And I remember the first vehicle that was pulled over, the uniform officer said, "What kept you?" Just to make absolutely sure that they knew that the police knew the whole plan, which is really unhelpful. And then I think they searched all the vehicles. Somebody got arrested for drugs. The vehicles were turned around and told to head off. We know what you're here for. So we all headed back up to London, where there was then an immediate inquiry amongst some of the people on the action as to how the police had been so well briefed as to what was going to happen.
Did you have a role in that internal inquiry?
Oh, well, I was present at it. I'm not sure I was involved in all of it.
Well, how would you, in your own words, describe that role?
I was present in a pub in Finsbury Park when the activists, or a number of them, were discussing how police could have known in detail whether anybody had said anything on the phone, or whether it would have to have been somebody on the action, and if so, who on the action would have known enough to give the police the advance meeting point. I was present for that, and then if there was a further discussion after that, I wasn't present for it, but I think from subsequent years that in fact there was a subsequent discussion in my absence about who was quite new to the group, who might have been privy to the plan.
So the outcome of the first meeting was?
Inconclusive.
Would you describe your role as key?
On this particular action?
In this investigation?
No.
Can we go back to page 1, please? Second paragraph. I know these are not your words.
Yeah, no, I was present for it, but I wasn't doing the inquiry. I remember, obviously, saw this before you asked me. No, I wouldn't have said I played a key role in it. No, I was present when they were trying to work out how police knew so much about the action.
So a slight exaggeration to make the SDS role sound better than it actually was.
Possibly, or just perhaps sloppy use of words, maybe.
Thank you. Could we take that down now, please? Milford Haven, and a year after the Sea Empress disaster, 14th to the 16th of February 1997. Could we have up, please, MPS 40169? This is an ex post facto report dated the 21st of February, a week after that event started. Did you go down to Milford Haven?
Yes.
If we look, first of all, if we could have paragraph 1 expanded. give you a moment to read that. I'm interested in the change of venue.
Okay. Okay.
What involvement did you have in the conversations which led to the change of target?
None at all. I wasn't familiar with either target.
So are you one of the people who was notified as you were boarding vehicles?
I think so.
Did you communicate this last-minute change of target to your managers?
If I had the opportunity to do so, I would have done, but I don't know if that was the case. I suspect not, and it wouldn't have been in time anyway. If we were about to leave to go and do the action, there wouldn't have been time for them to respond.
Could we look at paragraph 2, please?
Yeah.
There's a reference in the last line to causing damage, arrests for causing damage to mining equipment. Did you witness the damage?
No, I was in the van with another activist and a scanner.
If we look now at the source comment, please. I'll give you a moment to look at it, but what I'm interested in is the reporting on Mr. Geffen.
Okay.
It says that Mr. Geffen was excluded from the closed meeting to change the target. How did you know that?
I don't remember.
Mr. Geffen, in his evidence, has taken exception to the verb excluded.
Okay.
He doesn't think he was there, but he thinks he wasn't there out of choice.
Fair enough, then I will bow to his judgment.
If we could take that down now. I want to move to the March for Social Justice and never mind the ballots action on the 12th of April 1997. There is some reporting that we understand from you in the run-up to that. I'm not going to go to it all, but can we look first of all at C105 MPS 40194? This is a report dated the 4th of March about the forthcoming event. If we look at the last paragraph,
Okay.
it says there that as witnessed by a number of RTS Earth First gatherings, activists involved are not put off by the prospect of confrontation, and large numbers of them will be keen to take on the police if attempts are made to stop them.
Yes.
Does that accurately reflect your reporting to management?
Yes, I think it does. But there were a whole succession of Reclaim the Streets events that ended in confrontation, and that is distinct from saying that the Reclaim the Streets organisers were themselves involved in confrontation. Those events would draw out anybody with a grievance.
Can you help us as to whether there was anything specific about this forthcoming action which prompted you to draw attention to this risk?
Did I think it was particularly likely at this event?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Could you explain why?
If I've got my actions in the right way round, then they planned to, or we planned, because I was one of the organisers, to take control of the vacant Department of the Environment building by taking the gates off with a angle grinder and occupying the building and then holding it in the run-up to the general election as an anarchist focus and centre radio station blockaded in. That's quite provocative and confrontational, I think. I think most people would agree that's a reasonable use of that word.
Large numbers.
Yeah.
What made you say there would be large numbers of them keen to take on the police?
My experience of going to those events. And in fact, there were, because it did kick off quite big time in Trafalgar Square. So that's an accurate public order assessment given before the event.
Can we take... Sorry?
No, I just said that seems to me to be an accurate use of the word, I think.
Can we take that down now and go to B65 749 110? Can we look, this is 18th of March 1997, can we look at paragraph 1 first of all? So if I'm understanding this correctly, there's a meeting with the Special Branch Environment Desk person and your two sergeants and TN19 on the 13th of March.
Yeah, that looks likely.
And if we go to paragraph 2, most of the meeting taken up with discussion about the forthcoming RTS extravaganza involving the DOE building, scheduled for the 12th of April. HN14 discussed the RTS plan frankly and in detail, even showing plans of the building which had been obtained by RTS activists. This is the product of you being, by this stage, a member of the core organising group.
Yes.
TN19 agreed wholeheartedly that no action should be taken on the basis of HN14's information and that uniform need not be told at this stage. Can you help us with any discussion around that decision?
No, not really.
What would be the reason for withholding it from uniform? Would it be simply to protect you?
That would be an aspect of it. It might also be the case that they don't want to brief uniform until we're absolutely certain what the plan is going to be. One of the issues around organising any action is that the plan can be very fluid up until the last moment, and reporting can appear inaccurate by virtue of being given too early.
Did you meet the desk officer again before the action?
I might have done.
Did the decision to withhold information change?
Yes, because they were certainly they were fully aware, because I was told on the phone that the decision that the activists would not be allowed to occupy the Department of the Environment building had been made by the Home Secretary.
Who told you that? Being careful about anonymity.
I don't think I need to. I think it might have been Keith Edmondson. I think it was a phone call when I was driving my van. I remember pulling over to take the call and thinking, well, that's going to be really difficult. Then I can't see how I can get out of this, because that's the principal objective. But I was told that the Home Secretary has decided that the negative publicity in the run-up to an election caused by anarchists seizing a government building next to Parliament Square would be too damaging, and it's not to go ahead. I think our policing line was that it's a vacant building, so we were less concerned.
And presumably you're not able to shed any light on any details of when the Home Secretary took that decision, or are you?
It was very late. I remember it was very late, because it was too late for me to try to see if there was any chance of tweaking the plan.
Was that something that was suggested to you?
Just generally, if it would serve our interests, all we want to do is be able to give a really full briefing on what the organisers' intentions are, so that the event can be policed effectively. And then I guess from the Special Branch point of view, it shows that we've got good coverage. If the activists come up with a plan that we can tweak towards something that's acceptable, everyone's a winner from our point of view. The disaster scenario for us is where the activists have one plan and it's blocked, because then we've got no idea what they're going to do, And then you do get running battles and you don't know what's going to happen then. So from our point of view, we would have been quite happy to give them the empty building. And it was obviously, it's not helpful to us to be told that no, that's not going to happen.
Did DCI Edmondson say anything to you which led you to believe that the Home Secretary did or did not know that there was an undercover police officer in Reclaim the Streets?
No, he didn't, but I would be 99% certain that he wouldn't have known that. It wouldn't have been necessarily part of his briefing.
Can we now look, please, at the last paragraph? Completely different. We're back now to some of the issues with your legend. And there is a proposal at the end of the paragraph. What is needed now is either a reinforcement of HN14's existing employment or a credible alternative income which can be disclosed to wearies.
Yeah.
I suggest a one-to-one with HN14 at Chateau Lambert to thrash out a solution ASAP. That will be a free lunch, but not for BL. I don't need any details about any solution to this problem, but was going to see D.I. Lambert at Mr. Lambert's home something you'd done before, or was this an extraordinary event?
I know it's something other officers had done. I think there may have been only one occasion when I went there. We usually met at SDS flats. There was a couple of flats.
And was that this occasion?
Yeah, probably.
Was D.I. Lambert regarded as something of a fixer of problems in the SDS?
Yeah, that's probably true. He had a very good brain for that sort of work.
And could you help us with the dynamic between DCI Edmondson and D.I. Lambert? What roles did they, in fact, play within the unit whilst they were managing you?
D.I. Lambert was much more hands-on. I remember having regular meetings with him discussing potential scenarios where future areas of interest might be, where there was a customer requirement for intelligence. DCI Edmondson was more of an overall administrator of the section.
And to what extent did Lambert's background as a UCO impact the way in which he managed?
Well, it was key.
Could you explain in what way?
I think it would be very difficult to manage long-term deployments, not having had some experience of a long-term deployment.
Was he highly regarded and trusted by the UCOs?
He was by me.
Can we take that document down now, please? You've reported comprehensively on the plans for the event in April 1997. We needn't go to all of the reports. You've done that from within the core organising group. Are you the treasurer by this stage?
No.
Did you, as part of your position in the core organising group, debate plans?
Yes.
Expressing opinions about those plans?
Yes.
Presumably trying to tweak them to a more police acceptable role if possible?
Yes.
Did you hire any of the equipment?
Yes.
What did you hire?
I certainly hired the occasional truck generators, I think.
Did you take any other practical steps to facilitate the demonstration?
Well, if I'm one of the core organisers, I'd take all sorts of steps to try to facilitate the demonstration.
Could you help us with the sorts of things you were doing?
Briefing some of the people who were taking other roles in it. Just working through most of the practical aspects of the plan, recceing the venue, working out what the plan was going to be, I think.
By the eve of the event, how wide was the circle of people who knew that the DOE building was the target?
Well, initially it would have been a very small number, but because this was a very large event, that the circle of people who knew the plan widened quite dramatically and in a very undesirable way in the last sort of 2 or 3 days, I think, beforehand. So it got a bit out of control.
Would I be right to understand it was appreciated by the SDS that this was going to be a big event?
Yes.
And this was, your reporting was very important. Were you having a lot of conversations with your managers?
Yeah.
Did you meet or communicate yourself with CO11 at any point in the run-up to the event?
No, I've never communicated with CO11.
Do you know whether your managers were communicating with CO11?
I don't. I think no. No. Well, CO11 didn't. CO11 viewed Special Branch as a rival agency, so I don't think there was any great communication between the two at all in any aspect.
Do you know how your intelligence was disseminated for use at policing this event?
No, but I'm pretty certain it wouldn't have gone to CO11 on principle, because CO11, we wouldn't have trusted them not to have compromised me. There was they viewed Special Branch as a rival agency. They were just moving across. They'd been set up to deal with football hooliganism, and they were looking to move into areas that were traditionally Special Branch areas, but their tactics and their approach were very different, and Special Branch didn't really deal with them at all.
A turf war?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So if you're not going, if your managers aren't pushing the intelligence out to CO11, how are they getting the intelligence to the police officers who have to manage the event?
That's for the management in the office. So my role is to pass on accurate intelligence to the office. Where it goes from there is down to the handlers and the controllers.
3 activists are arrested on the 11th of April with the print run of Evading Standards, which was then confiscated. Was there any advanced discussion of arresting them to disrupt the protest?
No, they were arrested by CO11 without reference to Special Branch.
Are you sure that it was done without any reference to your
As sure as I
intelligence?
can be, bearing in mind that I was in the field at the time organising the event.
Could we have up MPS 40324, please? It's tab C114, sir. This is about evading standards, and if we expand the text, it's an ex post facto report.
Okay.
And I'm
Yeah.
interested, I'll give you a chance to look at it all, but I'm interested in the sentence which includes once the charges are inevitably dropped.
Yeah.
Why inevitably dropped?
Well, because I couldn't see there was a lawful grounds for the arrest. I mean, of those 3, Paul and Roger weren't involved in organising the event. John was just involved in doing the publicity for it. And in fact, there was some discussion around distributing 20,000 copies of it. And part of the thinking was, if police do go along and arrest them, it's going to be a payout, which it was, because there's no grounds for the arrest. The first I knew that they had been arrested was when I went to an organising meeting and I was told they've just been arrested, which I was staggered by, because if there'd been any reference at all to Special Branch, then they would have been told, don't do this. And if we'd wanted to arrest the organisers, we could have done it at any time, because I was on the board.
Do you know whether any action was taken by Special Branch to intervene to stop the the criminal process proceeding any further?
No, I don't. I have no idea what happened with this. I had no involvement with it beyond just reporting that it had happened.
Did your managers express any opinion on CO11's activities?
They would have done, and it probably would have been negative.
Can we take...
CO11's general tactic tended to be arrest all the time, and that tactic was no longer effective, and certainly not against people as switched on as this who are going to sue afterwards. So had they consulted us, we would have told them not to do that, but they wouldn't have consulted us.
Can we take that down now, please? Can we have up C183 MPS 0001420? This is about the compensation payments, but if we could look at the second paragraph, please.
Yeah.
These arrests were carried out by the FIT team in an effort to disrupt the following day's march by preventing organisers from taking part. Unfortunately, none of the 3 men arrested were actually involved in organising the event. Follows from what you've said that that's entirely true.
Yeah, John was involved in doing the publicity. So he sat on the organising group, but his role was to do with doing the publicity, I think.
Well, if we look at the first paragraph, we'll see the settlement figure is set out. Why report on the settlement figure in civil litigation?
Probably to point out the stupidity of arresting people that weren't involved in the event. It's
The MPS as an institution would already have known this because they'd had to write the cheque.
Yeah, I probably had a rant about it to the person who wrote the report, and they've included it.
Is another reason for reporting is so that it goes on the file?
I mean, possibly, but I thought it was a particularly stupid tactic to arrest people, very intelligent people who are not going to put themselves on offer when there's a case in these circumstances. So I probably had a bit of a rant about it, and it's just been recorded in this way that this is £6,000 payouts completely unnecessarily.
Moving back to the event, what level of communication and cooperation was there between RTS and police before the day in question?
And none at all.
Can we move to the day itself? I'd like you to help us with where you were and what you saw. But can we start? Did you attend throughout the day?
Yes.
From the very beginning?
Yes.
And that meant, were you one of the marchers?
No, I wasn't at the original meeting. I was near the Department of the Environment building with some equipment ready to take the gates off when the crowd got there, with 2 other activists.
And that, of course, never happens.
No.
At what point did you realise it wasn't going to happen?
I think when the crowd came over, the crowd walked from Kennington Park, they came over the bridge, and because police knew the venue, there was a point where we wanted the crowd to go straight ahead instead of following the obvious route. And there were lots of people in the crowd who were briefed and were up for doing that. But when they got to that point, the police line was incredibly thick because the police knew the venue and were making sure that the march wasn't going to go there. It was TSG officers, not regular police, and there were TSG vehicles parked nose to tail behind them to ensure the crowd couldn't go through there. So the crowd came over and then at the last moment realised there's no way they're going through, so they turned and moved along the route that the police were trying to funnel them along. And it was only at that point that you realise there's definitely not going to be anybody trying to get through the police line.
And if you can help me with just to clarify, did you know at this stage that the Home Secretary had made a decision that this...
Yeah.
So it wasn't actually a surprise to you?
It wasn't, but policing of some of these events can still be quite poor, so I wasn't sure how solid the line was going to be, whether they were going to try and make it look like they didn't really know where the crowd were going by making the line a bit thinner, or whether some people in the crowd might just try anyway. So it was only when the crowd came over and then swerved away at the last minute, and we got phone calls from people in the crowd saying there's just no way through there, that I realised that was what was going to happen.
And so what do you do once the crowd has obviously turned?
we decided to go for our sort of plan B, which was just to proceed to Trafalgar Square and to try to get the sound system into Trafalgar Square.
And the sound system on your lorry?
I wasn't driving a lorry. Did I hire it? I was at the hiring when it was hired by somebody else. But yeah, the main sound system lorry, I'd been involved in putting it together, yeah. And in directing it into London.
And you participated in getting it into Trafalgar Square?
No, it drove through the roadblock.
So where were you when this vehicle go through the roadblock?
In Trafalgar Square.
Did you witness it?
I witnessed it driving into the square. I think because then once you can't do the original plan, then anything can happen. On this occasion, because we were all going into Trafalgar Square, they put up, I think the roadblock was a couple of police motorbikes just parked in the road and a couple of officers. And the sound system vehicle just accelerated straight through it into the square, and then the crowd sort of jumped on top of it. We were talking them in to what we thought was the most feasible way into the square on the phone.
Could you describe, are police officers having to dive out of the way, or was it less dramatic than that?
I didn't see any police officer diving out the way. There's a lot of people in Trafalgar Square. I saw the vehicle coming through, but I didn't see that incident.
Can you help us with events in Trafalgar Square during the course of the day from then on, in broad terms?
Okay, the sound system played outside the National Gallery. There was a sort of a big rave going on in Trafalgar Square. It started to get quite nasty a couple of points. I remember there was a police van got caught in the crowd, and the police van was being attacked. And I remember thinking that the driver's going to do well to get it out. I think some horses started trying to shepherd the crowd out to try to get them to disperse, and that didn't go well either. And then it ended up with the crowd sort of running in different directions down some of the streets. And we had a squat prepared for later on, so most of us headed back to Vauxhall, which is where we had a big squat ready.
Can you help us with an impression of the proportion of people who were involved in this disorderly conduct and the proportion of people who were simply partying?
Not really.
Small proportion, large proportion?
No, quite a large proportion. It was quite a big event. It was front page news on all the newspapers the next morning, and I remember going down to the corner shop, and the headline on one of the papers was Riot Frenzy, and they were all covered in photographs of it. It was considered quite serious disorder.
The tabloid newspapers are never known for understatement. So you're, as an eyewitness, can you help us? What was the most serious crime that you witnessed on that day?
Probably the attack on the police van outside, is it St Martin in the Fields, the place outside there? I think the window was put in, and I thought the officer... There was only one guy in the vehicle, so he'd obviously dropped off the TSG, but he'd taken the wrong route and got stuck in the crowd. And that's the one that I witnessed that looked the most...
Were people wearing masks?
Yeah. But people were wearing masks on hunt sabs. People wore masks all the time. That didn't necessarily mean anything.
What sort of proportion of people were wearing masks?
I couldn't say.
When you say it didn't mean anything, presumably they were wearing masks for a purpose.
Yeah, what I meant was people would wear masks so as not to be photographed. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to do anything violent or whatever. If you go on any big public order event in the 90s, there will be a lot of people masked up.
Were missiles thrown?
Yeah.
In what sort of volumes?
Enough to make it... as soon as people start throwing missiles, the ground becomes covered in broken glass. I think what had happened was the police were trying to disperse the crowd by allowing people out but not back in again. But people were going out buying beer and then trying to get back in and being held the other side of the police line. And then that started building up, and then people who were getting frustrated started throwing their empty glasses towards the police line, and it sort of kicked off from there, I think.
And for how long did the disorder last?
Well, there were certainly police-mounted charges into the crowd, but I think it got to the point where there's nothing to be gained by me staying in the middle of a crowd that's being charged by mounted riot police. So as soon as the other RTS core group started leaving, I left with them to head back to our squat.
And what was the attitude of the core group? Did they just want to get out of the way?
No, I think we were all quite excited by it because that was seen as snatching something out of a defeat, because the original target had been denied. So the one sin is if nothing happens. As a big event organiser, the one thing you don't want is everybody turns up and goes home and nothing happens. We were denied our principal target. We weren't able to do the action we wanted. But there was a big event in Trafalgar Square and then a big sort of running event through the streets. That's a good second prize.
Can I just be clear? Are you saying that to turn Trafalgar Square into an autonomous space and to have a happy party for a few hours with no disorder and no crime and then disperse would be regarded as a failure?
By some people, yeah.
When you say some people within the core organising group?
No, I can see what's happened is that some people within RTS are saying our goal was to create a temporary autonomous zone not to clash with police. That's accurate. However, they do not control the people that come on their events. RTS events used to pull out thousands of people, and it was sort of anybody with a grievance against all sorts of things. And this was part of the problem. You'd get groups like class war, left-wing groups, all sorts of groups would come along. You don't control a crowd like that. You just give them opportunities. If you're creating barriers and blockades, that's a confrontational opportunity which a lot of groups would happily take. And when we were organising meetings, we were fully aware of that. But that doesn't mean that we were saying, how are we going to get this to kick off? Because we weren't.
Just winding back a bit to the reporting you gave, we can turn it up if you need to see it. But the thrust of your reporting in the run-up to this included phrases like last-minute disruption, risks, running battles and widespread disorder, advice to the effect of not to completely thwart the event, and then warning against thwarting the primary objective. That was from a report on the 9th of April. But thwarting the primary objective was precisely what in fact happened.
Yes, but that wasn't a police decision.
Understood. But would I be right to understand that essentially SDS advice on how to handle this protest, based on your first-hand experience by that stage of almost 2 years undercover and having participated in the organisation of this event, was ultimately ignored?
Yes.
There's a report after the event which suggests, in which you're reporting that RTS thought that the reason their plan had been thwarted was that just too many people knew about the plan. Is that fair?
Yeah. In the last few days, it got out of control.
Can we take that document down now? Can we digress to a procedural document? Could we look at tab B24, 737225? This is an operational notice from 1995. It's dated the 9th of August. And if we look at paragraph 1, it's about setting out a new structure for dealing with public order intelligence within the service. If we go to paragraph 2, purpose is intended to complement the work of Special Branch and not duplicate any work undertaken by them. The system will be similar to the National Football Intelligence System. It will cater for all types of public order events, both pre-planned and spontaneous. Paragraph 3. new post of Public Order Intelligence Officer has now been created within CO11, and then explains something about how data is going to be stored, and ends, there will be no details kept of allegiance to groups or political persuasion. Is this the CO11 unit that you were referring to earlier?
It looks like it, but I haven't seen this document before.
If CO11 have decided that for public order purposes there is no need to keep records of people's allegiance to groups or political persuasion, can you help as to why the SDS is still recording such details?
Because we're not that unit, we're a special branch.
And what is it over and above public order in 1997 that was causing a special branch to record more details?
I'm not quite sure what you're asking me, but special branch, are you asking why we kept details of groups?
Yeah, of allegiance to groups and political persuasions in 1997.
Because it would be impossible otherwise to... You can't say, right, we're just going to go out and gather... We want to know the details of the next big event, where it's going to be and what the plan is. You can't do that without knowing who's involved and what the political leaning of the group is. I don't see how you could do that at all.
Did you ever meet a CO11 Public Order Intelligence Officer?
I think only when I was arrested by them.
Did the development...
Sorry. Yes, they did. They stopped me in the street and in my vehicle, actually. I think that was CO11 as well. Yeah, sorry.
Did the development of the CO11 public intelligence function affect your deployment on the ground in any way at all?
Yes, we would have regarded them as there's different agencies operating in the same field, and you do get a sort of a turf war at management level between them. We wouldn't have trusted the Public Order Intelligence Unit or CO11 not to have accidentally on purpose compromised one of our officers.
Back to the March for Social Justice. Mm-hmm. Can we have up B66 746922, please? This is a letter from Michael Messenger, the commander, I think from CO11, to Detective Superintendent TN61 of SO12. I'll give you a moment to read it. It's a thank you letter, essentially.
Okay. Okay.
And then if we look at the top, at the gist at the top, Keith, can you show this to those involved? Once again, many thanks and well done to all. That's from HN 58. Is, as far as you understand it, Keith Edmondson?
It would be, yeah.
And were those thanks passed on, amongst others, to you?
I think I was the only one who was involved in this. I think I was the only one there, so it would have been. I was certainly aware of the existence of the letter, and it's referred to on my personal file.
Did Commander Messenger come and thank you personally?
No, I don't remember him doing that. I don't remember him doing that. It's possible he did.
Thank you. Can we take that down now, please? I want to move now to other events the same day. This was the day on which your sexual relationship with Monica started, isn't it?
Yes.
And you were both in Trafalgar Square.
Yes.
And you both ended up in a pub together.
In Vauxhall, yeah, opposite the squat.
And there came a point in time in the evening where she initiated a kiss with you.
Yes.
Where were you when that happened?
Sat on the wall outside the squat.
And she asked to come back to your place.
Yes.
And you went to get your van?
Yes.
And you drove back together to your place?
Yes.
Can you help us with what you were thinking when that sexual advance was made to you?
I was thinking that she was very nice and I liked her very much, and I was also thinking this is a very complicated position that I hadn't expected to be in, and that was why I made an excuse initially to leave, saying I needed to go and collect the van, which I didn't, to give myself time to have a think about it.
And how did you use that time to have a think?
I thought that other people had seen us kissing. If I didn't come back, people would wonder why not, because generally speaking, young men don't run away when nice young women kiss them. But then I was also thinking, well, I was firstly, how do I resolve this? Is this something I'd want to get involved in? And then I was also thinking that I like her a lot and she's a lovely person. So I was also thinking probably that I'd been divorced for a while and I lived my whole life as Jim Sutton, not as Jim Boyling. So I decided to go back.
You described to me this morning how you thought you were not going to be one of those officers who got involved in sexual activity. What had changed?
I'd probably invested too much of myself in the role, I guess.
You were still well aware, though, that you were a police officer.
Yes, it's slightly difficult. I lived under this identity all the time for 5 years, as you've already asked me about. Most of the time you are not thinking I'm an undercover police officer. I'm just being myself. I'm not an actor. I can't keep up a role for 5 years. I'm just being myself. The problem with that is that you invest more and more of yourself in it and you start to lose sight of the fact that that's your primary role. I mean, I've sat at planning meetings thinking, we've been discussing we're going to be in trouble if the police find out about this, and then it's dawned on me that of course they're going to find out about it because I'm sat there. But you get into this odd sort of scenario where you're not sort of thinking, well, I'm a police officer, what should I do as a police officer? I'm just being myself, I'm afraid.
You are going to SDS meetings normally twice a week?
If there wasn't anything going on, if I was on the organising group for Big Action, it would be every day for quite a long time.
Did you give any thought to the fact that if you proceeded, you would be deceiving Monica because you were not who you had told her you were?
Well, I'm deceiving everybody.
It's not quite an answer to my question. Did you think, in terms of sexual conduct, that you would be deceiving her as to who you were?
Not really, I'm afraid. No. If you're living this way, your whole life is a deceit. You can't cordon off different areas of it and consider that in a different way. Your whole life is a deceit all the time. It's not a very healthy or authentic way to live.
You can, after some time in a pub, receive a kiss and then change your mind and, in your case, refer to a girlfriend in Denmark, couldn't you?
No, that option had gone very quickly, I'm afraid. When you're in the office, the idea of having a theoretical girlfriend that nobody ever meets seems quite plausible. Once you're out there, that you see how ridiculous that is very quickly. People will expect to meet your girlfriend. This idea of having a hypothetical girlfriend that nobody meets is just a total non-starter.
But you told me earlier today that you did use that story.
I did, yeah, and I was aware of the fact that it wasn't plausible, one that it was becoming increasingly obvious much more quickly than this date that it wasn't plausible.
When the moment comes for you to deploy your pre-arranged get out, you don't do it.
Well, that would be, well, by this point it had already gone. Where is she? Where is this girlfriend that, if you're living with someone all the time and you're hanging out with them every day and they're supposed to have a girlfriend, where is she? Why do we never meet her? Why doesn't she communicate with you? She doesn't phone you when you're with us. It just doesn't work at all.
Were you actually asked those questions?
I used that early on quite a lot, but then it became apparent really quickly that, quite early on, I remember actually meeting some Danish activists. And so they then started asking very precise questions about my girlfriend in Copenhagen. And it just starts to become obvious really quickly that this isn't going to work.
Were you actually asked by activists from this country
About
questions doubting her existence?
I was asked by an activist, a woman activist, who said, "You've split up with your girlfriend because you haven't mentioned her for a while. You're wearing different clothing." So she'd surmised that whoever it was clearly not part of my life because I wasn't mentioning her all the time. But it's very difficult to keep mentioning all the time someone who doesn't exist as if they're a constantly changing living person.
You could have made some other excuse, couldn't you?
No.
Why couldn't you make an excuse that you weren't ready for a relationship? Some traumatic experience in the past.
Yeah, I think that's been used by female officers and is much more sympathetically received by female officers. I think I know this isn't the right thing to say, but when attractive women ask to come home with young men generally don't make excuses and run away. It's very...
It may not be the response of the majority, but it's a response of some, isn't it?
Is it?
You could have made an excuse, couldn't you?
I don't think I could have done, really. I could have made an excuse that would have bought me time, I think, but that wouldn't have resolved the issue. I was deployed this way for years. I think also it is fair to say that my whole life is lived as this person, and then you meet someone that you really like. Relationships form in a way which seems quite normal and natural with people that you really like. I wasn't sitting there thinking, well, I'm an undercover police officer, how should I deal with this as an undercover police officer? I was thinking, I'm Jim Sutton, how do I deal with it as Jim Sutton?
Can I take that you were thinking, I've been offered sex, I'm going to take it?
No, not really, because I was very nervous about the whole idea of having a relationship like that with somebody. I was probably thinking that I'm a single bloke, she's really nice, I will have a problem to resolve if I'm going to try and avoid the relationship. The obvious answer is don't avoid it.
So sex and cover.
So what?
So you get sex and cover.
If you were being cynical, I guess you'd say that, yeah.
And no thoughts of the propriety of a serving Metropolitan Police Service undercover police officer procuring sex by deception.
Well, I'm not procuring sex by deception. I'm not making any deception in order to procure sex. I'm making a deception which is constant.
You've deceived her as to not only who you are, but what you are.
That's not what you said. You just said procuring by. That's a different thing.
Well, let's try it this way. You have deceived her as to who you are and what you are.
I've deceived everybody as to who I am and what I am. That's the whole nature of the role. It would be a bit weird to be an undercover police officer who's going to reveal himself to be an undercover police officer.
But the difference here is you are going to have sex with her. Is it your evidence that simply didn't cross your mind?
I don't know what crossed my mind in that sense, I'm afraid.
You both went back to your cover accommodation.
Yeah.
You both smoked tobacco and cannabis.
Probably.
Were you aware that Monica had given up smoking?
No.
You had sex?
Yeah.
With a condom?
Yeah.
Whose condom?
Mine, I think. I don't know. Perhaps it was hers.
Which you had ready?
Perhaps it was hers then. I don't know. Perhaps I did have I don't know. I mean...
Why did you have a condom ready?
I'm not sure that I did.
Had you contemplated sex in your undercover identity up before that point?
I had and thought it wouldn't be be something I'd be involved in.
Had you received any advice about using your own condom?
No.
Having sex with Monica that evening marked the start of an intimate relationship, didn't it?
Fairly short relationship, yeah.
Monica would not have consented to sex had she known that you were in fact Detective Constable Jim Boyling, would she?
I don't think I would say that. No.
Why not?
Well, I remember, for instance, that one of the other activists who had been in the military at one point was considered to be a spy, and for either police or for security service. And I remember discussing it with Monica, and she, like, you'd think that if everybody was going to shy away from a relationship with someone who was sort of as being a UC or whatever, that he would have been spurned, but that wasn't what happened. My ex-wife, when she found out I was a UC, it didn't make any difference. So the idea that it's taken for granted that if someone had known your correct occupation, that they would never have been in a relationship with you, I'm not sure I would concede that as a given.
Did you give any thought to it at the time, whether or not she would consent if she knew who you were?
I don't remember doing so.
And presumably you certainly didn't think, I better make sure I'm getting informed consent, I'll tell her who and what I really am.
Well, that would have been difficult.
Did you give consent thought at any time during your relationship?
In what sense?
Did you give any thought to the question of whether Monica would have consented if she'd known who and what you really were?
I don't remember.
Monica's evidence is very clear indeed that she would not have consented if she had known who and what you really were. Have you got any grounds on which to gainsay that?
If she says that, then I wouldn't dispute what she says. If she says that, I won't dispute what she says.
Did the advice that you had been given by Andy Coles, that it was going to happen, play any role in your going ahead and having sex with Monica?
I can't say from now, I'm afraid.
What would it have taken to have stopped you?
If I'd thought she wasn't going to consent, I guess.
But you didn't address your mind to that.
Well, I don't see how I could have addressed that with her.
Well, isn't the answer to that not to have sex with her?
Well, we've already been over that, and I could say that would have been, I could have put it off, having a relationship with somebody, but I don't think it would have been possible. If you look at people deployed in these fields, it's not as if the overwhelming majority of people deployed into animal rights and environmental anarchist fields do end up having a relationship with somebody in it, because it is 90% lifestyle and 10% politics. And I don't think I think for that reason it's regarded as inevitable. I don't think people go into this thinking, well, I'm going to have a party, it's going to be great. Nobody does that. And I know that's difficult for people here to understand, but nobody goes into this thinking, well, this is going to be fun, I'm going to smoke drugs and all this, so it's going to be terrific. It's not like that at all. And I think also you develop what at least appeared to me to be a genuine fondness for someone and a genuine relationship with someone that you like. You don't sort of think into it in the sense of, what if I told her that I was a UC, what would be the situation then, which seems to be what you're sort of...
What I was actually driving at is, would a firmer management line have made a difference? Very clear management guidance, you must not have sex undercover in your undercover identity?
I don't know. I can't say. I think they would have had to come up also with a way of dealing with the other side of it, which is that a single person living alone is never going to be accepted, so they would have had to come up with some sort of operational tactic for that as well. But I don't know.
Did the fact that you were by then divorced influence your behaviour?
I think so. I think if I'd still been married, I would have felt differently about it.
So would that be a convenient point to break?
Certainly would. I'm afraid you've got 3 days ahead, and the questioning is not going to get any less uncomfortable, but would you be here, please, tomorrow, ready to give evidence again at 10?
Yeah.
Thank you.